Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. We are back once again with another tier list. Today, we're going to be going through the projected, or, some of these are confirmed, some of these are rumored, some of these are official, but we think we know the 10 mid laners for the LEC at this point in 2022. We're going to be going through my, obviously, very, very early preseason tier list. Things could change a ton, obviously, as we get closer to the start of the season, as we actually get all the rosters finalized, as we start hearing about scrims, and especially as we start actually playing some games in the spring split. A lot of this is going to be super speculative, but I just want to get my thoughts and ideas down in a video and get your guys' thoughts and opinions as well headed into the season. As always, don't be too toxic, don't flame me too much, don't flame anyone else in the comments too much. These are just tier lists. Nobody knows what is going to happen, nobody has any idea, so I would love to hear what you think, but I don't want you to be an asshole, okay? Two completely different things. With that being said, let's get right into this. I always like starting out at the bottom. And this year for the mid lane, at least going into the season for the LEC, I actually don't have anyone in the F tier. Part of this is because I actually like the mid lane lineup that the LEC is rolling out this season a little bit. And also, I just don't know enough about a lot about these ERL mid laners to really see who I think is going to be good and who's not. I'm really going to be watching a ton of LEC early on in the spring split to get an idea for a lot of these mid laners. Obviously, European mid laners are always fun and always exciting, but I am going to be starting off with Dajor. I don't know if it's Dajor or Dajor. I know people have said Dajor, but I don't know if they're just like memeing me, trolling me, whatever. But this guy is going to be the mid laner for Astralis, and I think that's not the best position to be in. I know he was pretty good in ERLs. I know they made it far. I believe he's on Fnatic Rising that made it to the European Masters finals and ended up losing in game 5. He's a name I've heard a lot about. People have been asking for him to get an opportunity. He's finally going to get that. But again, I think this Astralis lineup looks really weak. And at the end of the day, League of Legends is a team game. If you're on a weaker team, it's going to be harder to stand out. I don't think Astralis has like amazing management, amazing infrastructure, amazing coaching, amazing development, anything like that. So good luck to my man playing on Astralis in 2022. I think it'll be rough. But again, I'm excited for him. He has some talent. I think he has potential. We'll see, because there was a lot of mid laners that came into the LEC last year that I thought had talent and potential, and a lot of them didn't pan out. Everyone thought they had talent and potential, and, these guys aren't here. Guys like Jekolad, Milica, these guys who, just couldn't stay in the LEC. Some people thought Blue was going to be good. But I don't, hate any of these pickups for these teams. I'm fine with Dajor getting a chance in the LEC. So I have him in the C tier, but somebody's got to be last. Next up, I'm going to be going with Sertuss. Again, another guy that has some talent, has some potential. He's exciting. I believe he was Misfits Premier. They actually ended up taking down K-Corp in the LFL finals, or they beat K-Corp at some point in the LFL playoffs, something like that. So they were going toe-to-toe with the best teams in the ERLs. And again, how well is he going to transition into the LEC? How much of that was thanks to his team? How much of that was him? It's always hard to tell. But this is just another guy who I think is in a rough spot. I don't think highly of the SK management. I don't think highly of the SK organization. I don't love, the roster that they've put together. So even if he's good, even if he's decent, I think it's going to be tough for him to stand out too much. Another guy that, probably has some talent. I just think he's kind of in a rough situation. But again, at the end of the day, a guy that I don't know a ton about. Even if you watch a lot of ERLs, it can be very hard to see how these guys are going to project going forward, because you're playing a whole different game. ERLs is not the LEC. It just isn't. So it's tough, but I do have Sertuss here in the C tier as well. And then finally in the C tier, I'm going with Nuclearint. This is obviously a guy that I have seen play a fair amount, and he's young, he's inexperienced, he makes some young, inexperienced mistakes. He definitely has talent. He definitely has made some big plays. He's had some good games. I see why Schalke, was rolling him out there. I see why BDS is deciding to stick with him. But he's not there yet. He's not like a dominant LEC mid laner. He's not a consistently good LEC mid laner at this point. Maybe throughout this year he'll take some of those strides, but again, this BDS lineup is young, inexperienced. I think they're all going to have a ton of growing pains. I think Nuclearint is obviously going to be a huge part of that, making good plays and bad. I love that he is going to get to learn under Grabs. I think hopefully Grabs will be able to make some big strides with this team. Maybe come summer split, I'll have Nuclearint a little bit higher. I love the name. It was funny that, he tried to change his name to like Nuclear or whatever. But he kind of got bullied into keeping his Nuclearint. I think that's a good decision. Great name. Great young talent, but, not there yet. He's not moving too high up on my list. Next up in B tier, I really think these bottom 4 guys, take your pick. If you think Sertuss is going to be B tier, great. If you think Nuclearint's B tier, great. If you think Dajor's B tier, great. Or if you think these guys are in, any order of these 3, that's awesome. And then throw Reeker in this mix too. If you think, however you think these guys are going to pan out, maybe you think one of them's F tier, maybe you think none of them are. I'm going to put Reeker in the B tier. Partly because I really, really trust the Mad Lions organization in terms of coaching, development, and also scouting. It seems like these guys have always been right about a lot of these young prospects that they've picked up on, bringing up Karzi, growing with Kaiser, Humanoid, El Yoya. These are all guys that they have handpicked, that they've coached up, that they have developed, and they've really hit a lot of home runs. Have they only hit home runs? No, absolutely not. They've had some misses, but mostly this team does a really, really good job. So if they believe in Reeker, who am I to say that Reeker, isn't going to be good? He was on Big in the ERLs. Big has, been a good team, a top ERL team. I think Reeker's obviously been a part of that. And if you look at these 4 mid laners are all on the list right now, I think Reeker's on the best team, the best players around him, most talented team around him. He's going to get to mid-jung duo with El Yoya. That's great. He's going to have mid support with Kaiser. He's set up for success. So even if he's not necessarily as good as any of these other 3 guys right off the bat, his team's going to help him out a lot. His coaching staff's going to help him out a lot. Talent's going to help him out a lot. Mac is a good coach. Mad's a good organization. Obviously, they had a little drama and controversy going on. But, I think Reeker's in a good spot. I think he is in the best spot of the new faces to have success right away, especially in the spring split. So I think he's going to be interesting and fun to watch. Next up in the B tier, I have Nukeduck. Again, Nukeduck, I've been very vocal. Not a huge fan of this guy. I think he's fine. He's okay. He's solid. If your team needs a veteran, solid mid laner, I guess he can do the job. I don't necessarily, I don't love seeing him in the LEC again. I would love to see, some young talent getting opportunities or something like that. And it's weird to me that, Nukeduck has a spot when you have guys like Niski sitting out, when you have guys like Jensen sitting out, other guys that you could slot into this if you wanted success right away. But also there's a ton of ERL mid laners sitting out, waiting for an opportunity. And Nukeduck is fine, but he's never going to be great. We've seen enough of him. You know what you're getting with Nukeduck. He's not going to be terrible. He's not going to be the worst mid laner in the league. He's not going to be like bottom 3, but he's going to be like 7, 6, 5, somewhere in there. And I don't know, your team's just never going to be great. With Nukeduck as your mid laner, most likely. I don't know. Kind of weird. I know a lot of people aren't happy to see him back, but, I'm more happy to see Nukeduck back than I am a guy like Promise Q or something like that. I do think Nukeduck's solid. I think Excel has an interesting team. I think they're going to do okay this year. I have him in the B tier. Next up, moving on into the A tier, I have Larssen. Larssen is a guy that I don't really like as much as probably a lot of other people do. I think this is a guy who, in the regular season, he's really good. In games that don't really matter, he's really good. Puts up some good stats, puts up some good numbers. Definitely has talent, definitely has ability. I hate that I feel like him specifically never shows up in the big matches, never shows up in the big regular season games, the big playoff games, at Worlds. I don't know. I've been very, very critical of this guy for just showing up. He has talent, he has ability, but I think he has something like a mental block that's holding him back from being great. It's a little bit weird to me, but obviously he's still good. You can't discredit him too much. He's been good, but also losing Inspired as his jungler, I have some major concerns about that. I don't know, how much it's going to affect him, if at all. Maybe it won't at all, but I do think we could possibly see some regression from Larssen heading into this new season. Losing his longtime jung duo partner in Inspired, who is very, very good. And out of that duo, I would, rate Inspired higher out of the 2. So I think Larssen is going to, miss Inspired more than Inspired is going to miss Larssen, if that makes sense. Next up in the A tier, I have VTO, and this is a guy who I'm very, very high on. I think this guy, this year, if not, maybe next year, if he ever leaves Misfits and gets on a better roster, I think this guy has a chance to take a big, big step up. I love watching this guy play. I think he has a ton of talent, ton of potential, ton of ability. I mean, this is just one of those guys where you watch him, you're like, okay, yes, he could be great. I think if he is able to develop right, keeps his head going forward, and again, gets a good team around him. Because again, League of Legends, still a team game. You cannot 1v9 no matter how good you are. Chovy, maybe, but you're not going to be Chovy most likely. There's only one of him. I think Video's really, really good. I love watching him play Zoe. Obviously, it's disgusting, but he is, getting other champions to that level as well. I think this guy, has that Caps, Perkz potential in him. and he just needs to do it for a whole year. And this could be the year that puts him on the map. So I'm really excited for him. I'm really happy for him. I think he's going to be a beast, and he's one of my favorite EU mid laners to watch for sure. Next up in the A tier, I'm going to be putting Perkz. I'm going to be putting him at like high A tier, A plus tier, whatever you want to call it. I was not really impressed with this guy too much in the LCS. I don't think he was that great in Spring Split. He was okay in Spring Split. He won first team all LCS mid lane. I don't think he deserved it then, but he was in the conversation. He was okay. Spring playoffs, he was a little bit better, but then MSI wasn't that good. Summer Split, he wasn't that good. Summer playoffs, he wasn't that good. World he did show up and have some good performances here and there, but overall, when you look at the year as a whole for Perkz, he didn't like stand out as a major consistent S tier mid laner to me, nothing like that. I mean, especially throughout most of the summer split, he was a very middle of the pack LCS mid laner. I mean, there was legitimate conversations of like whether you would have Jizuke, Power Beeble, Jensen, or Perkz, like you could have taken any one of like 4 or 5 mid laners in the LCS because none of them were standing out, and Perkz was included in that group. I don't know. I could see him coming back to the LEC, being more comfortable. This will be his second straight year playing mid. He's going to want to, win back the European crowd. He's going to want to stick it to G2. He's going to want to do all these things. So I could see him coming out and having a big year, especially with this loaded Vitality roster around him. But in 2021, he was not an S tier mid laner to me, so it's hard for me to put him there going into 2022. I don't know. This is obviously a guy who, if everything goes right, he obviously could be the best mid laner, if not the best player in the LEC. But if to project that at this point to me is a lot of like blind faith. You're not watching the games, at least in my opinion, if you're saying that going into 2022. But obviously I know European fans are going to be excited. They're going to be happy to have him back. I'm sure that'll be a controversial take. Whatever. He's A tier to me. In the S tier, I am going to be putting Humanoid. I really think this guy's a monster. I really, really like watching him play. I wish he was a little bit more consistent. He's a little boomer bust. Doesn't always show up every single game, but he's a monster, and I think the move to Fnatic is going to be huge. I think him and Razor together is going to be really, really nasty. I think Hylissang, perma Roman to mid to help out Humanoid is going to be a really, really nasty combination. I really love this Fnatic roster they've put together, and I think Humanoid is going to be an absolutely massive part of that, being a monster rock in the mid lane for them. I think he's a big upgrade over Niski. I think he's a big upgrade over Nemesis that we've seen the last couple of years. I think Fnatic now have a bona fide star in the mid lane, and that is going to be a very, very good thing for them. But last but not least, I do have in the mid lane, again, this might be controversial as well, I have Caps back as the top dog now. I know I said, Perkz wasn't that great in 2021, so I'm skeptical, whatever. Caps also wasn't that great in 2021 either, but I do think he has more potential to bounce back stronger in 2022. And overall, even though Caps had some bad weeks and stuff, I still think him and Jankos are going to come out very, very strong in 2022. And I really do expect him to be the best mid laner. I have tons of questions about G2's roster, how it's all going to come together, how well it's going to work, how well the bot lane is going to be. Is BB going to fit in with Jankos and the guys? But yeah, down year for Caps in 2021, no doubt, but I expect him to come back very, very strong. I think he is, probably... He's one of the best players in the LEC, obviously, if not the best player in the LEC. G2 believes in him. They re-signed him. They think he's good to go for the future. They have a new team around him. There was issues on G2 last year, whatever. I'm a big fan of Caps. Love watching him play. I think he's so fun, so exciting, so talented. And he's my pick for what I expect to be the best mid laner in Spring Split of 2022 for the LEC season. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about my list. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What does your tier list look like? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!